Everyone, welcome to the J1C2 opening session at IEEE Services. I'm Muninder Singh. I'm a professor of computer science at NC State and one of the co-chairs of this track. Let me begin by turning it over to Dr. Rong Chang from IBM, who will give us a short overview of the of this track.
Hi, Muninder. Thank you. And yes, I'm Rong Chen, and I have been honored to be the chairperson of IEEE Technical Committee on Service Computing, TCSVC, for about 6 years in total. And on behalf of the TSVC community, I would like to express my special thanks to James Josie and Carl Chang. James is the editor-in-chief of IEEE Transaction on Services Computing, TSC, and Carl is the steering committee chair of IEEE World Congress on Services. Although Journal First, Conference Second initiative between IEEE TSC and IEEE Services has been explored for more than 10 years with my involvement in the discussions between the TSC, IEEE, and IEEE TCSVC and services. We won't have this inaugural first of its kind J1C2 track at the IEEE services without James and Carl's outstanding leadership and their dedication to the growth of the community. As a Congress general culture of this year, I'm also extremely grateful for the J1C2 leadership team's effort in delivering this historical J1C2 track at IEEE Services 2021. So let me somehow invite James to give an opening remark.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Ron, for nice introduction. It is really my great pleasure to be here for this historic moment.
Hello, everyone. I am Masood Bharati.
For this historic moment, both for IEEE Transaction and Services Committee and IEEE Services. Just to give a quick background, as Ron mentioned, this is an effort that has been there for tried for many years. I became EIC of TSC in 2017. I was aware of a lot of effort, at least put by the previous EIC, Professor Ling Liu, which was focused on J1C2 model that was slightly different from this one. So that model was looking at getting the best papers accepted at Services Congress and directly publishing as journal papers in TSC. But it had some financial issues which could not be resolved. And after I became EIC, I tried to check many times if IEEE would be willing to change the financial model. And they were willing to look into that, but somehow it did not work out. So we thought about this alternate model where the papers accepted at TSC will be presented at IEEE services. And as Ron had mentioned, this is fruition of an effort that has taken a long time. And I would like to take this moment to thank Carl and IEEE Services Team Steering Committee for the support provided to this idea. And I would like to express my special thanks to Ron for playing a very critical role in executing the plan to establish the MOU between IEEE Services and TSC. And he was actually a key link between TSC, where he plays the role of associate EIC, and IEEE Services, which he's leading this year. So thank you, Ron, for your leadership and your push to get this working this year. And of course, this arrangement really leverages the very close relationship between IEEE Services that has existed for a long time and TSC. So I strongly believe that this J1C2 related cooperation will further lend to our growth, the growth of the services computing community, and bring them closer to each other and in a more productive and synergistic way. So I'm sure this would mutually benefit both TSC and IEEE Services Congress in raising their reputation and impact. I would like to also say that IEEE TSC's impact factor has rapidly grown over the past several years. It is now at 8.2. It's increased from 4.4 in 2017 when I joined as EIC, very rapidly to 8.2, which is almost double. So that's a great achievement. But such a growth could not have been possible without the support from a very strong and vibrant research community. And the fact that many IEEE services authors publish their work in TSC and many editorial board members of TSC are active organizers and leaders of IEEE services indicate that the historical relationships between services, Congress and TSC have been key to TSC's growth in reputation and high impact factor. I firmly believe that this J1C2 mechanism will only further the growth that we have already seen in terms of reputation and impact. So in closing, let me again thank Rong and Carl for working with me to establish this for at least 3 years. And I would like to thank the track chairs, Muninder and Surya, and the heavy lifters, Mohan and Jamal, for implementing this really inaugural session. And after the conference, I hope to get feedback on how to improve this J1C2 mechanism further, and also build much closer relationship between the conferences and the journal. Thank you again. I'm looking forward to the exchange of ideas and presentations. Thanks.
Okay, I think it's my turn. Yeah, first, I would like to thank James, Josie, for your leadership and congratulate you also, the entire editorial board of TSC. You know, it's so happy to hear that the TSC is now ranked so high, continue to improve its rating. I also would like to thank Rong Chen for your facilitation of this process. You know, throughout since we start talking about this J1C2 agreement several years ago, and then to see its completion in recent days. Just to help set the record straight, you know that J1C2, this term actually started back in 2014 when I was in planning for ComSec. At the time, I had the at that time, the program committee meeting still held face-to-face fashion in the Los Alamitos Computer Society office. Now I gathered several presidents, also the organizing committee of ComSec. We start talking about different kind of ways of doing, I mean, to foster cooperation between our publications and our conferences. So then we start talking about J1C2, J2C1, all these terms, you know, started from that meeting. And then going even earlier, and that also explain why I'm so pleased with this agreement signed between TSC and the IEEE services. Back in 2004, when I was the president, I start knowing there's a conference called ICWS, also ICC. So I think ICWS started in 2013. 2003, sorry, 13 is, so you can see how old I am now. 2003 in Las Vegas, and 2004 I think was in San Diego. And during my tenure as the president, I decided this is a great conference we have to pull into computer society. So if you check the record, 2005 was held in Orlando, Florida, and that is after I stepped down as the sitting president. So we had a conference in 2005. I served as the general chair for ICWS for that year. And then actually in 2006, we started the first Congress. That is the three conferences, Congress between ComSec. I was the steering committee chair for ComSec at the time, and SCC and ICWS. So 2006, if you Google nowadays, it's called COSTEP, COSTEP. You can still find some information about that year. We held a conference, the three conferences as a Congress in Chicago. And then we start after 2006. We start working on putting up a journal, to have a new journal published, approved by the IEEE PSCB. It's not very easy. So we spent about 2 years of time and effort. Finally, get it approved, and we have I did the first EIC search for IEEE TSC, and then we had the first issue, issue 1, number 1 in 2008. That's the history of these two events, two important activities of computer society. So I've been personally involved in both the Congress and the TSC since its start. And today, I can see the community actually started getting together. And as James mentioned, there has been a long history of cooperation. In fact, we used to host TSC editorial board meeting in the IEEE services. And of course, now due to pandemic, we talk about it, but we can never implement that. But I hope in the future we still have the chance to host the editorial board meeting with TSC. And so, James, thank you so much for signing this agreement on behalf of IEEE services community. Welcome TSC to have this joint relationship with us, and I hope this J1C2 model will continue forever. I think this is, after all, this is one community. No, thank you so much, and I think I'll give the podium back to Ron.
All right, thanks, Carl and James and Ron for your comments. So let me go back and share a few slides that have these the notes that I pulled together, but it's not being very cooperative. I assume it's big enough. I'm trying to. The problem is that the present button is covered with something else that I can't get rid of. So I'm going to just go with it the way it is. All right, so this is just a few notes about the J1C2 program. You already heard from Carl and Rong and James, and the others, the rest of us are also involved. We'll describe shortly. So obviously, this is the IEEE initiative. I think IEEE has been trying it with various journals and conferences, but this is the first time at IEEE services, and the particular way in which it is run is a bit different from some of the other editions of this concept. There's as you heard, there's a memo of understanding that the Congress has with IEEE transactions on services computing, and the motivation should be clear to everybody, is to give visibility at the Congress to leading research that's published in the field. And sometimes those of us who publish in journals, we feel a bit regretful that we didn't get to expose our work to a live audience. So this is an opportunity for some authors to correct that. A difference here is that the authors of the J1C2 articles, they also provided a one-page kind of an abstract to go in the IEEE services proceedings, and their original sort of full article is available for free download. So it'll give exposure to their work. Overall, we have 7 sessions this time, and there are 20 talks, and the talks are regular length talks. So let me briefly describe the process that this went through. So the process this year was limited to early access articles, so articles that had been accepted and the final versions are received from authors, but which had not, formally appeared in the journal. So there were 316 of these, and we have 5, established conferences at the IEEE Services Congress. There are also some symposia and so forth, but combined there are 5 of them that are participating in this effort. So the PC chairs of these conferences identified the papers that they wanted to select. So out of the 316, they selected 6 to 8. And we essentially invited enough so that we would get 4 per conference. That's why we have 20 papers in all. And one thing we offered here was that we did give complimentary registration to one of the authors so they could come make a presentation. I just want to make one comment before this came up in the discussion earlier. So out of these 316 articles, which are also selected, from a few thousand submissions, we are selecting something like 32, approximately. So you can say it's a 10% acceptance rate out of accepted articles. It's a prestigious sort of an event, and I think the authors who have been selected, they should view it rightfully as an honor, for having been selected to this program. Let me highlight a few of the volunteers and participants in this effort. So the vision, as you saw, was between Carl Chang and Rong Chang and James Joshi, which is played out over a few years. There's a memo of understanding which Carl and James worked out, which turns out to have been not a trivial matter because it has to satisfy IEEE constraints about revenues and so forth and copyright. In the program itself, Mohan and Jamal did the bulk of the work, and especially I think Mohan, because Jamal had a family emergency for a part of it, but Mohan sort of carried lifted the whole program up as it were. The conference chairs participated by selecting the papers that we have. The publications chair, Nimanthi Achukurola, she helped out in getting these abstracts organized, and to a much smaller extent, Surya Nepal and we served as the chairs for this track this year. And last but not least, I should point out the authors, because of course, if there weren't any authors, there wouldn't be a program. So that's the essential step. I want to conclude with some comments about how we might take this further. So obviously, we do hope to continue this program further. The current memo of understanding is for 3 years, so we have 2 more years on that memo. But we can make adjustments and make it a longer-term commitment and so on. That's yet to be decided, but I hope it's decided positively. Through this exercise, we saw lots of opportunities for process and scheduling improvements. The authors in particular and the other volunteers, I mean, everybody may have some ideas for how to improve it, bring the best ideas on board. Those ideas are welcome. And of course, even volunteers are welcome. I mentioned the email addresses of James and Carl, not so that they get spammed, but just to, because they are the leading lights behind it. And if volunteers, if you wish to consider volunteering, those are the 2 best people to communicate with.